In today's video, I'm taking one of Europe's most important high-speed trains. This is Thalys, Eurostar, the high-speed train company that connects much of Western Europe using a fleet of stylish and very fast trains. And that all sounds great, but in practice this operation is far from perfect, with questionable design choices, sky-high prices, and strange policies landing them the title as Europe's worst train operator just last year. Join me as I travel in this slightly confusing Eurostar Plus product from Amsterdam through Belgium to Paris, to find out if this is really Europe's worst high-speed train service. Our trip starts at the beautiful Amsterdam Centraal station located in the heart of the Dutch capital city. The beautiful station building was completed in 1888 and has served as the main station for the city ever since. At the time of traveling, the station was very busy, with peak summer traffic and not helped by the upgrade works improving the station, having closed one of the main underpasses. However, the rest of the station remains open for business with lots of shops, eateries and other facilities. On the northern side of the station you will find a modern extension, including the station's bus terminal and a seamless connection to the ferry towards Amsterdam North. Heading up to platform 15, where today's service towards Paris will depart from, we are under the roof of the beautiful train station shed, housing most of the station's platforms. Amsterdam Centraal is mostly served by NS, the Dutch national railway operator, with frequent intercity and commuter train services to all corners of the country. And if you really want to experience the bustle of the station, staying at the hotel floating across the tracks seems like a great option. Arriving now on platform 15 ahead of our train is the new Eurocity direct service to Brussels, competing directly with Eurostar. The new service has helped increase capacity, improve flexibility and has no requirement for mandatory seat reservations like on Eurostar. Except Eurostar also kind of doesn't either, but as our train is now arriving, we'll have to talk about that later. This is one of the two models of train Eurostar uses on its routes from Paris towards Belgium, the Netherlands and Germany. Our model is the slightly newer PBKA, built by Alsthom and very similar to French GEC models, operating at speeds up to 300 km per hour. The other model used on this route is largely identical, called the PBA, with the main difference being the design of the power car and lack of equipment for services towards Germany. All of these trains still sport the same largely unchanged livery back from when the service was called Thalys, which has now been merged with the company called Eurostar, that formerly only ran the high-speed train service between London and Europe. 2 years later, however, the brand is still far from being completely unified, as you'll see later in the video, but for now, let's head on board and find out what the interior is like. While my first impressions are that the interior actually looks pretty good, it was quickly reversed when I discovered that I had been assigned this windowless window seat. You'd think a high-tech, high-speed railway company like Eurostar could figure out how to make a seat picker on their website, maybe even one with window alignments, but no, it took them until fairly recently to introduce this cutting-edge feature on their former Thalys routes. So for this video, I will just have to make do with the tiny slivers of window this seat has access to that really belongs to the seats in front and behind. As we navigate our way out of Amsterdam's Central station, we'll be taking the line down towards Amsterdam Airport, and that seems like a great opportunity to take a look at today's route map. We are catching Eurostar 9382, which will head south, passing through Belgium on the 525 km long journey that's scheduled to take 3 hours and 29 minutes to reach our train's final destination, Paris Gare du Nord. Just a few moments later, we dip into the tunnel taking us under Amsterdam Airport. This is a major interchange hub, not just for flights, but also for train connections to the rest of Amsterdam and the Netherlands. A couple of minutes later, we get on our way again, as we emerge from the tunnel to join the first of today's two major high-speed railway lines we'll be travelling along. This is the Amsterdam to Antwerp high-speed railway, consisting of the Dutch HSL South and the Belgian high-speed line 4. But unfortunately, our train won't quite be going high speed yet, as there are serious build quality issues on this part of the HSL South, limiting trains to almost a snail's pace on quite a few sections. So while we crawl along, let's have a quick look at the seats and interior here in Eurostar Plus. We are traveling on board one of the trains that feature the new Ruby interior, introduced with a refurbishment program started by Thalys in 2021. To my knowledge, this program is still ongoing after the merger, so I do have to wonder if the trains that are currently being refurbished still feature the Thalys coat hooks and neck pillows. Overall, the new seats look quite nice. They feature a large and very sturdy tray table, alongside these handy storage straps and a thoughtful small light. On the back of the main tray table is also a smaller tray table, which sort of could be used as a device holder. The seats also feature a plastic storage pocket as well as an adjustable footrest. On the right is the bin and power box, providing space for your trash as well as a place to charge your devices. The control for the reading light and recline can be found below the armrest. The recline system is electronic, which is really cool, and it transforms the seat into a comfortable relaxation position. The seats themselves are well padded and feature a good ergonomic shape. Their tall back design also helps create a good sense of privacy, so Thalys did a really good job designing these. However, I did notice while filming the seat tour that quite a bit of dust and dirt had built up around the seat, and it's frankly unacceptable that a train company that has the audacity to be one of the most expensive in Europe can't properly vacuum their trains once in a while. There is also one more very weird thing about this train's interior, but we'll get to that later in the video as we are now speeding towards Rotterdam, where we call at the city's main station just a couple of minutes later. This is Amsterdam Centraal. Rotterdam is very well known for its modern architecture, including its newer main station, as the city was pretty much bombed to the ground during World War II. Our train continues heading out of the city, taking the tunnel under the river, eventually emerging on the other side in the suburbs, where the high-speed line resumes and our train can start to get back up to speed. And there's just something so cool about speeding across the border into Belgium at 300 km per hour with no interruptions, here in this unremarkable business park. It's really a great showcase of the EU and national politics working together to create something great. Eventually, we have to slow down again as the high-speed line from Amsterdam comes to an end just north of Antwerp, where we also dive under the city to arrive at the magnificent Antwerpen Centraal. While you can't see much of the station from the underground platforms where Thalys Eurostar trains call, this is actually one of Europe's most magnificent train stations, featuring trains on 3 different levels and with a station building fit for royalty. I can highly recommend checking it out if you're ever in Antwerp. Back below ground, our train is now ready for departure. As we leave Antwerp and get back above ground, for the next part of the route we'll be travelling along the Antwerp to Brussels railway, which is the only real significant portion of our trip today that won't be on a dedicated high-speed railway corridor. So as we gently trundle along the way to Brussels, let me show you around the rest of the train's interior. Eurostar trains have 3 classes on board. Both Plus and Premier use the same seats in a 2+1 layout, with the differences instead being in the soft product. The other class on board is Standard. This comes in a 2+2 layout, with seats largely identical to those in Plus and Premier, just in a denser configuration. And that is really the main difference, with standard seats having many of the same amenities and a similar level of padding. The train also features an accessible area, as well as a small section for bikes. But on Eurostar you do have to pay €35 for that privilege, more than double than what any other high-speed railway operator in Europe charge. With the new interior, Thalys Eurostar also got rid of the staffed cafe counter and has replaced it instead with 2 vending machines. Except on the new Ruby trains, there is still a staff member selling the same stuff as the vending machine, just from a stationary trolley. So it's basically the same cafe car, except it's just worse now. I've heard there's 2 reasons for this. One is Eurostar does not know which service will have the new interior before on the day, so this gives the staff something to do when a new interior train shows up. The other reason I've heard is that the vending machines can be too slow to cope with demand, and I will say both these reasons sounds equally stupid. Before I head all the way back to my seat, we still have one thing left here in the train's interior to check out. Yes, that's of course right, it's time to do a toilet review. The toilet overall was looking clean, with a working flush. I struggled a bit to get the sensor to work with the water, but eventually a little bit came out. Overall, the toilet was fine, and I have no complaints from here. Back at my seat, we are now arriving into the Belgian capital city Brussels. As our train approaches the city from the north, we take the railway through the heart of the city to make our way down to the South Station, which is the only station Eurostar serves in the Brussels area. And Brussels South is also sort of Brussels' main station. Our train has a scheduled stop of 7 minutes here to exchange passengers and take on a new crew for the rest of the journey towards Paris. We depart Brussels on time, now heading non-stop the rest of the way towards Paris. We'll be joining the Belgian high-speed railway line 1 that will eventually join up with France's LGV Nord, taking the train all the way to Paris. And now, as we speed south towards the French capital, we still have lots left to talk about, which unfortunately is mostly all the downsides to Thalys Eurostar. While the actual trains themselves are good, and the high-speed railway lines built by the governments provide a strong foundation for a high-quality service, Eurostar chooses to make the experience terrible in almost every other possible way. And I'll get to that right after we complete our border crossing into France, which happens on the fly as we speed past this sound wall and neutral section once again smoothly with no slowdowns at 300 km per hour. So let's talk about Eurostar. Well, first of all, Eurostar is not a cheap operator. It's pretty common for standard class to be well over 150 euros on busy travel days, and that's if all the trains aren't already sold out weeks in advance. And unlike other sensible operators who will let you stand when you couldn't plan your life a month in advance, Eurostar simply says no, you must have a seat reservation. Except Eurostar will actually let you stand, but only if you buy their most expensive ticket with the same day travel guarantee. So let me buy a regular ticket and give me the choice if I want to stand or not, instead of artificially limiting capacity of your trains. This works fine in many other countries like Germany, China and Japan. Eurostar loves to brand themselves as a relaxing premium train option between Europe's key cities. But then at the same time they have brought all the same shitty fees as low-cost airlines to rail travel, with luggage restrictions and hefty fees for oversized luggage. Which is so ridiculous given trains are not bound by the same weight or space constraints as on planes. Trains have much more space by comparison, and none of the other high-speed railway companies in Europe bother with this, except the low-cost ones. If you want to copy low-cost airline-style fees and cram in a few more seats, that's fine, but then you don't also get to brand yourself as a premium operator and charge prices like it. And the worst part of it, Eurostar's ridiculous fees don't stop there. They have the highest Interrail reservation fees in Europe, more than double most other high-speed trains, while also limiting how many of these reservations are even available. They also charge the highest fee to bring a bike, again more than double than anyone else, and a laughable 60 euros for oversized luggage. But that fee is oddly only half if you're on a train not going to London. Which brings me to the Thalys Eurostar merger. They may have unified their bank accounts, but they sure haven't unified the passenger experience. Take Eurostar Plus, the class I'm in today. On the London routes this comes with a complimentary meal, even though most of these trips are shorter than the former Thalys routes. London services also get to keep a full cafe car, but on ex-Thalys routes, maybe you get a trolley, maybe a vending machine, who knows? And that's because the trains are completely different. Eurostar to me really feels like they've taken all the worst parts of flying low cost in Europe and applied them to their trains for no good reason, while still charging luxury prices and pretending to be premium. Sure, Deutsche Bahn may have delays, but they don't charge you 60 euros to bring an oversized bag or leave you stranded because your train got cancelled and the next 7 ones are sold out. Or take a look at Italy and Spain. Competition there generally brought new trains, lower fares and overall better service, and I can't wait for the same to finally come to Eurostar's routes, kicking the ass of the monopoly SNCF and Eurostar have had on their routes for far too long. Eurostar has also recently ordered brand new trains, which on the surface seems like a great thing, but in reality this is at best currently just a one-for-one fleet replacement with questionable motives behind the choice of train model, as independent railway commentator Ewww reports in his write-ups. I'll highly recommend reading his articles on the matter, as it really highlights why Eurostar is pretty much just an unambitious, stagnant monopoly protecting SNCF's interests. So, as we arrive into Paris, the big question: is Eurostar actually the worst train company in Europe? Well, probably not, but what there definitely is the worst high-speed railway operator in Europe. So, should you travel with Eurostar? Well, unfortunately, I have to say yes, because it's still the best way to get between Amsterdam and Paris. But between Brussels and Amsterdam, we finally have a better option. And hopefully one day, we'll also get a better option on routes to and from Paris. So, as I like the train here in Paris, it's my time to remind you to subscribe to the channel. I try to upload a video every Sunday, and I mostly cover trains I find interesting or at least don't actively hate. You can also follow me over on Blue Sky at intercitysimon.com, where I post live from my travels, so it's a great place to get a sneak peek at what videos might be coming to the channel in the future. Thanks for watching.